Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Plunder Den. In this week's episode, we're going to take a look back at 2024. So I really wanted to do another reflection episode. This will be the fourth one, actually. And I really appreciate, I will take this time to appreciate everybody for coming along for the ride for 4 years and, leaving comments and sending pictures of the projects they're working on. And really, that was the driving force behind this channel, was to get people involved in building their own terrain and helping them make those epic tables. And I really appreciate all the support I've gotten over these 4 years. The channel has grown every year, and it continues to grow, and I really appreciate everybody tuning in. Now, lots of things happened in this past year. Well, for one thing, I moved locations, so I'm in the Plunder Den right now. This is a new location. And it gives me a lot more space and allows me to do a lot more things in here, which is fantastic. Now, the other big news I had is those 2 game tables I built for Firelock games for the release of Port Royal. So we're going to discuss a little bit of that. I'm going to kind of just do a broad brush kind of a look at some of the things that I was really proud of this year. There might be things within those. So definitely there's a lot of techniques that I learned along the way while I was building those game tables. I had actually never built a game table prior to building those. I built a lot of terrain that had bases on them and stuff like that. So I have the foundations of figuring it out. But the full-on game table, that was the first 2 projects I've done. And I thought they turned out really well. And they looked really good. So let's just maybe take a quick look through those again. And just remind you of those 2 game tables. So this is the first table I built for Firelock Games. And really it was a promotional table / game table. But I definitely wanted to show the devastation of the tsunami and earthquake that happened. And so I wanted to add a water element to it. Destroyed city, and some city streets and lots of rubble and different details. I even put an anchor in one of the buildings. I really spent a lot of time, adding those extra details in there. Now all those buildings are playable. You can open them up and play inside them. I kind of made a drawer system that I've never done before for playing inside. Spent a lot of time perfecting my water techniques, and I think the water came out really good on this table. And overall, I was really happy with this. I love the promotional pictures that Firelock Games took of it to use for their Port Royal instruction manual and promotional posters. So I just wanted to give you a good overlook of the whole table. And this is the very first game table I ever built, and I'm really happy with it. It kind of gave me a guide to help me with the second one. Now, unfortunately, with a big, large water feature, it's not as playable as, there's less playable space, let's put it that way. You can play on that broken ship, but the second one I built has more street-to-street battle, and it's more just land-based. So we got 2 different types of tables, but you definitely get some dramatic photos with this particular table because I added the water features in there. I took a lot of historical references to come up with this, and at the end of the day, I'm really happy with the end result there. So let's take a look at some shots I took of it. I had these are the early photos of when I just finished it. I snapped some shots. And that was just before I sent it out. Now, this is the second table. And like I said, it was more land. And I really, really wanted to, Mike asked for a lot of elevation. So there's lots of elevation on this table. Playable buildings. And I went with the Mordheim kind of style where it's opened on the back. So you can fully play in these buildings. That staircase actually comes out. And there's a bar in front of it. And really, really, really playable. But it has all these... I factored in a lot of different angles that you could shoot from, places that you can hide. You got three streets, really. You got a back alley, you got the main road, and then there's a side street on the side here, which we're going around to. And I spent a lot of time. I've never done a building with arches like that. I really wanted to improve my weathering techniques on there. I wanted to look like paint falling off, and so a lot of aged buildings. So different painting techniques in there. definitely that I covered on this particular project. And the playability, like everything was considered playability. So you can shoot across the street there, and you can access the back of all these buildings. And I made it kind of destroyed wide enough so you can stick your hand in there. This church, I made a bell tower in there that you can play right up the stairs. So playability was super important in this table. It was much different than the first table, which was more, like I said, more of good for photos. But you can play on that game table. It's just you have less game space, right? This is a 2x2 table, so you don't have much room. And I wanted to maximize whatever I had. But I figured if you put more height in it, then you got more playable space. You got elevated space along the city streets. You can go down underground on there. You can go above. You can go through the buildings, up high in the towers. So it has lots of different aspects to it. And I believe the playability of this one would be much higher than the first one. So two different looks, two different takes, but I like both of them very, very much. They came out great. So here's just some assorted shots I took of the second table before I sent it off to Firelock Games for them to use. So yeah, this one's definitely going to be a lot of fun to play on. And I look forward to seeing what Firelock Games does with this particular table. So you can see there was a lot of components that we went through in building those tables, and there was a lot of new ground covered in there. And I really appreciate those projects. They were a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed assembling them. And I also really love, what Firelock Games did with them in the photos they took with the first game table, and put them in the rules and instructions, which people will get to see when the book is released soon here. But I really thought that was super cool, super awesome. It was a lot of fun projects, a project to work with Firelock Games on. And I look forward to doing other projects with them, other terrain building projects. So that was one major thing that happened this year. And another thing that I did, well, because I moved into the location, I really didn't have enough time, or let's just say funds, to do a lot of traveling abroad, leaving the country. I was focused on a new house. I purchased a new house. That's why we're in the new Plunder Den. But I still wanted to get out into the community, and I decided, I haven't done any game demoing. So I've been building and building and building all these things for Blood and Plunder and some of the other Firelock games that I play. So I thought it might be time to do some demoing. I probably could have done it years in the past, but I sometimes just didn't have time to do it. But I figured if I wasn't going to go anywhere, that this might be an opportunity to do that. So if you recall, we went down to Sentry Box, and we did down in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. We did a Day of Plunder down there, and that was a lot of fun. We get to see that really cool store. We got a lot of interest from those tables, and in one of the biggest gaming areas in Calgary, so that was a good place to be. Sentry Box has always been a big supporter of Firelock Games products. They always carry them there. I thought that was a perfect place to do a game demoing. As well as recently, and another part of this episode was to look at the time I did at the Corner Shop Cafe here in Lloydminster, Alberta. It's kind of a restaurant, but the cool thing about this restaurant is it actually has a gaming area. Well, I call it a gaming area, but it's actually a party room, so they can have parties and stuff there. But we're gonna utilize that space as a gaming area. So they'll kind of do hopefully monthly and maybe even more times in there where we run game demos in there, and maybe start building kind of a culture around it here for Blood and Plunder and other games. I understand they want to do maybe board games in there, Dungeons and Dragons and other stuff. Really support a local business and expand on what we're doing here, growing a community in Lloydminster for these kind of games. That's what I really appreciate. So let's take a quick look at the Corner Shop Cafe and my day there doing a little bit of Plunder. I took some shots and some pictures of the way it looked, and let's go check that out. So these first pictures of just me getting ready. Actually, I started getting ready 2 days prior to the event and made sure everything's packed up. Sorted the armies. It helped a little bit with the setup, but I still took about like an hour, 2 hours maybe to set up. So it did take me some time still, but I really glad I reorganized everything. Here at the Corner Shop Cafe in Lloydminster, Alberta, Canada, for a day of plunder. So let's go inside and check it out and get out of the cold. So I had to cut out some of the sound here, mainly because of copyright reasons. There's music playing in the restaurant, so I had to be careful here. How's it going, Carla? Oh, it's going great. Yeah, we're having fun over there. So I'm just in here, scoping out the restaurant. So I really appreciate Carla letting us over here. She sells all sorts of stuff in here. She has frozen treats. She does ice cream cakes. You can get poutine here and chili dogs and all sorts of good stuff to eat. So really, it's a great place. I think they marry up really well. You really don't have to go anywhere to get food. Everything you need is right here in the cafe. So this is the party room. There's all the boys came over to try out the game. We actually had more people than this. There's people that are coming in and out that tried it, and it was really great. We had, I would say we had about 12, 14 people around that, in and out. Some came just to see the terrain. Some wanted to play the game. And we definitely, I feel that there's some that want to continue playing this game and even get some of the product, which is great. And we'll build a community here in Lloyd. So this is us playing. We just kind of did a free-for-all. That's what's going on here on the table. It was just mainly so people get a feel for. We didn't use special rules. We just kind of did basic ship movement and the characteristics of the different units. And really just did the basics for this time around. We're gonna continue coming back to this, and eventually we'll add special rules. I brought the galleon along mainly just to kind of show them what it looks like, but like what the biggest ship looks like. But we wanted to start small with this free for all. I think next time we'll try team play and do that and get into some of the special rules for the commanders and the units. So these are some of the tables I set up. I had an amphibious table. Of course, we had the Rumble in the Jungle, and then we had our sea battle. Same three that I ran over at Sentry Box. And then I just had some promotional stuff for Firelock games there. So you can see that's a really great space for demoing, and we have big plans for, trying some of the other Firelock games like Blood and Valor, Blood and Steel. Blood and Crowns was something that they were really interested in. There's a lot of Dungeons and Dragons players in this community, and they like the idea of medieval. So we're going to try all sorts of different games out in there and demo them at the Corner Shop Cafe. So I really want to appreciate Carla for letting us use that space. And I think there's going to be lots of potential future there for demoing different games and building a community in Lloydminster. All right, so the other thing is the release of Blood and Crowns. Now we're like, well, okay, that's one of the games that I was just talking about, the medieval game. But there was a lot of terrain that I would built around that on the channel. So these are probably some of the most, I would say, the ones I liked the most. I mean, I love those game tables. They were awesome. But I really like these as individual pieces. And I spent a lot of time expanding on increasing the detail on the inside of my terrain. So I always had that kind of thing of making everything playable all the way through. But then I started going to an extra level of detail on the interiors to more immersive experience. I just keep building on that. Now we made the watermill and the bakery and the barn and like the farmhouses. And I came up with the idea of making thatched roofs using party streamers. And I think that was a technique I thought added value to the community. I hadn't seen anybody do it yet. There may be, I might be wrong. There might be somebody that had released an episode on it, but I couldn't find anything dealing with that. I did get a lot of comments saying that people have tried it, and it didn't work out very well. Not after the episode, but actually prior to that they thought that was a potential option, but it didn't work out too well. So all the buildings that I built on for that medieval town, I wanted to have thatched roofs, and I wanted a quicker way of doing it. I did in the past where I pulled rope apart, and it takes forever. And I wanted some, like, well, how can I do this faster if I'm going to punch out different buildings? How can I save some time on the roof? And I don't know, I was at the dollar store like I usually am, looking for inspiration, and I came across party streamers. Now, the only reason I looked at the party streamers is they have really good texture on it. It actually looks like a thatched roof. Besides it being, perfectly like a rectangle or whatever, but you can trim that and cut it. Tissue paper, that stuff is like really thin. And that lies the danger of it. It's really thin, so how do you turn that into a thatched roof? So I kind of glued them and kind of bunched it together and then snipped it with scissors, and it made a really good thatched roof look. That technique worked really well, and I did several buildings with that technique for the entire medieval village. So I'm really proud of that. It's something that's different, and I really liked all those details I added on those structures, and it carried over. I did a garrison house, which was even more detailed than that. I just went over the top with detail. But I really wanted to spend some more time. Let's take a look at that. Some of those medieval projects that I did for Blood and Crowns. I really enjoyed those projects. So let's just take one more look at those. So really it's just a montage of pictures of them. So we'll start off with the farmhouses. So these are the first ones I did. Thatch roof was pretty good on these, but I got much better as I went along, perfecting it even better, layering it properly. But I just wanted to show you some pictures of it on the battlefield and the end result. So I made 2 farmhouses in that episode. So then I moved on to the watermill, and I would say probably the watermill is my favorite project of the year. I absolutely love this project. I got to play around with water, and this is one of those first projects I did with highly detailed interiors. I even went down to figure out the exact mechanics of a mill back then. I found photos and references of, well, obviously not photos, but drawings of it. We're able to come up with something that's pretty close. And you can see I spent a lot of details on here. And actually that river connects to my other river tiles that I built before. So it's all interconnected and have a full battlefield. You can see right there. So I'm really happy with that project. And then this is another one I really, really liked too, was the bakery. And this is another one that I spent a lot of time doing interior decorating on the inside and made a lot of details. And I really liked the thatched roof on this one. It really came out really well using that party streamers. You can see all the details I added, even added bread and all the tools they're using, the ovens, everything. Just went over the top to really build that bakery. And it looks really great on the battlefield. And I haven't seen too many people like bakeries. So next one was the barn. This is actually something that people have requested I do, is a barn. So I figured there should be a barn in this medieval town, and I kind of showing you the different levels and some of the details I did. It was the hay inside, and this is where the stables are. I just kind of spent a lot of time adding extra details to their tools and stuff. Lanterns and a lot of over-the-top details. And this is just assorted pictures of kind of all the tables put together and some of the miniatures that I painted for Blood and Crowns. There's Joan of Arc, and I really am excited about this game. I would say I still got a few more miniatures to paint. And again, like I said, I still have 3 more buildings that I want to construct to complete the medieval town. And really complete this project overall and be ready for some epic matches of Blood and Crowns. So that we're really proud of that episode where we went over that, and really happy with all those projects. Now, of course, I didn't actually finish it. I kind of moved into the Port Royal setup just to kind of marry up with the release of the game and the Kickstarter. So I kind of had to balance times, but I plan on going back there and finishing. There was 3 other buildings that I wanted to build for that Blood and Crowns or that medieval town, and we're going to go back and explore that. I think people like the medieval ones because it's very, versatile terrain that you could use for like Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy settings, and it really fits well in those kind of games. So we'll definitely go back to that in 2025. So let's talk about that, 2025. What's coming up in the Plunder Den? Well, we're going to continue doing projects, and that's definitely one of the ones we're going to be working on. Also, there's something else I'm working on for Firelock Games, which will be really cool. And then who knows? There's some other talks about some other major projects coming up as well. And all that kind of stuff. I want to do more game demoing and over at the Corner Shop Cafe. And then the big thing is I'm going to Adepticon again. So, I didn't go this past year, and I just mentioned that because of purchasing a home. But this year coming up, I'm going to go back to Adepticon. And this year it's in Milwaukee. So it's in a different location than before. It was Schaumburg, which is like a suburb of Chicago. That's when I was at the last one. And Adepticon got too big for that location. And they had to look for a larger space. So the Bard Center in downtown Milwaukee, I believe it has over 1 million square feet, so it's a huge location. And actually, Gen Con used to be there at one point, and it moved down to Indianapolis now, but it was there at one point. It's a good spot for Adepticon to grow. It's just getting bigger and bigger, and judging by how many hotels were snatched up right away, it's going to be bigger than ever. There's going to be more people at this Adepticon than any Adepticon in the past. So, really excited to be a part of that and be down there for that event. Some of my terrain will be down there. It'll be exciting. I'll play a little bit of tournament play. And, of course, we're going to do a lot of exploring. I've been doing the virtual tour and kind of like of the surrounding area, but I'm not as familiar with that as I was with the Renaissance Hotel. So it's definitely going to be, and it's going to be for everybody, right? This is the first time Adepticon's been there, so we're all going to be in the same boat. But I definitely want to film and show that experience with you guys. And so there'll be a series of videos related to Adepticon in Milwaukee and my trip and journey there and time spent there. I am going to play in a few of the tournaments, the same as last time. I don't want to be involved in every tournament because, otherwise you're tied to tournaments all the whole time. But I do want to play a few of them and kind of experience the whole thing. There's going to be all sorts of different things there at this Adepticon than it was the last time I was there, which was 2 years ago, but it was a 2023 one in Schaumburg there. But anyways, that's another thing that's coming up. And there's lots of other Misty projects we will find out as we go along. I definitely want to do a lot of smaller projects. People really appreciate like the winter trees that I just did. That was something that, I didn't even know what I was going to do. And I came up with this filler sand. But smaller projects like that, people appreciate that. They're easier things to do. I am going to do still some elaborate projects and painting tutorials and all that kind of stuff. But if there's anything that I'm missing that you guys want me to do, make sure you leave them in the comments down below and let me know if there's other things that you'd like me to explore and work on. I really appreciate the feedback, and see if we can work some of those things in. So kind of appeal to a wide, broad audience of people, and try to do as many projects as I possibly can. I also want to wish everybody happy holidays with, happy and safe holidays with their family. As I'm filming this is a couple days before Christmas, and I'll probably release this afterwards, but I just wanted to make sure I got one out before the end of the year, and I want to make sure everybody has a great time during the holidays. All right, so that's about it. I will see you guys in the next episode. I just want to finish off with a quick montage of some other pictures and projects I completed in 2024.